Tonight, after you finish watching this video, you'll probably do something for entertainment. Watch another video, listen to music, text someone, maybe check if they replied. And if all of that suddenly disappeared, how long before you got bored? A few hours? A day? For almost all of human history, this wasn't a thought experiment. It was reality. Your ancestors lived without any of it. No screens, no endless content, no way to instantly distract themselves. Yet somehow they stayed entertained for hundreds of thousands of years. Not only that, they may have understood something about fun that we're slowly forgetting. Because if you spent one evening with humans 30,000 years ago, the first thing that would surprise you isn't how different they were. It's how familiar they were. Most people picture ancient humans struggling every second of the day, hunting, gathering, trying not to die. But that's not what anthropologists found. In many hunter-gatherer societies, once the day's necessities were finished, people had free time, real free time, time to sit, talk, laugh, wander around, and sometimes do absolutely nothing, which creates a strange question. Modern humans have more entertainment than any generation in history. Yet boredom is everywhere. Your ancestors had almost none of it, so what were they doing that we're not? The answer starts with something so common, we barely notice it. Stories. If you lived 40,000 years ago, stories were everywhere. You'd hear the same ones again and again. The great hunter, the dangerous animal, the strange place beyond the mountains. And somehow people never got tired of them, because stories weren't competing against a million other things for your attention. They were the event. A good storyteller could hold an entire group silent for hours. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner spent years recording conversations among the Jew/Huansi people of the Kalahari Desert. What she found was unexpected. During the day, most conversations were practical. Food, work, problems, plans. But after sunset, stories dominated. Myths, adventures, jokes. Entire evenings spent imagining things that weren't physically there. Wiesner argued that these campfire conversations may have helped shape human culture itself. Long before schools existed, stories were teaching people how to be human. Then archaeologists found something unexpected. A flute, made from bird bone, around 40,000 years old. The flute was discovered in a cave in southern Germany. Dating places it among the oldest musical instruments ever found. Which means humans were making music while mammoths still walked across parts of Europe. Think about that. Before farming, before cities, before writing, someone spent hours crafting an instrument just to make sound. Why? Probably for the same reason people do today. Because humans love music. Always have. Someone sat beside a fire tens of thousands of years ago and played a tune that nobody alive today will ever hear. Yet the feeling behind it was probably exactly the same. But if you could spend one evening with your ancestors, one thing would stand out immediately. How much they talked. Not about philosophy, not about abstract ideas, about people. Who embarrassed themselves, who was brave, who couldn't be trusted, who liked who. In other words, exactly the kind of conversations humans still have today. Researchers studying conversation across cultures have repeatedly found that social information dominates human discussion. The technology changed. Human curiosity didn't. In some ways, scrolling through people's lives online is just a modern version of one of humanity's oldest hobbies. Then there was something most modern people almost never experience. True darkness. Not the darkness in your bedroom. Real darkness. The kind where there are no street lights, no glowing screens, no distant city lights, just the sky. And that sky looked completely different. Ancient humans could see thousands more stars than most people can today. The Milky Way wasn't a special event. It was simply there, every night, stretching across the sky from horizon to horizon. Astronomers estimate that people living far from modern light pollution can see several thousand stars with the naked eye. Many people in large cities today see only a few dozen. Imagine growing up with that view. You probably wouldn't spend every evening looking down. You'd spend a lot more time looking up. Humans also played games long before history began. Nobody knows what the first game was. But it was probably simple. A race, a challenge, a contest. Who can throw farther? Who can run faster? Who can win? Competition appears almost everywhere humans appear. It's one of the few things shared by nearly every culture on Earth. And some researchers think that's because humans never outgrew play. We just changed the rules. Sports, board games, video games, different forms, same behavior. The desire to challenge ourselves for no practical reason at all. But the strangest discovery isn't about stories, or music, or games. It's about sleep. Historians studying old records noticed something unusual. For centuries, people kept mentioning something called first sleep and second sleep. In 2001, historian Roger Ekirch published research after spending 16 years examining old diaries, court records, letters, medical texts, and religious writings. He found more than 500 references to the same pattern. People slept for a few hours, woke up, spent time talking, thinking, praying, or visiting neighbors, then went back to sleep. At first, many historians thought it was a translation problem. It wasn't. For generations, people treated this as completely normal. Then, in 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Wehr ran an unusual experiment. Volunteers lived without artificial light for several weeks, and something remarkable happened. Without being told what to do, they naturally began sleeping in two separate phases, almost exactly like the historical records described. For thousands of years, some of your ancestors spent part of every night simply lying awake beneath the stars, talking, thinking, or listening to the sounds of the world around them. And then there's laughter, one of the oldest forms of entertainment ever discovered. Scientists have observed laughter-like behavior in chimpanzees, bonobos, and even rats during play, which suggests the roots of humor may be millions of years older than civilization itself. Think about that. Before the first king, before the first city, before the first written word, someone was already making someone else laugh. The more researchers learn about ancient humans, the harder they become to recognize as primitive. They laughed, they played games, they made music, they stayed up late telling stories, they watched the stars, they gossiped about each other. And when they finally went to sleep, some of them woke up in the middle of the night and did it all over again. Civilization changed almost everything, but it didn't change what humans enjoy, because the things that entertained people 30,000 years ago are still entertaining people today. The tools changed. The human brain didn't. A smartphone would look like magic to your ancestors. But the reasons you use it would make perfect sense, because when you strip away all the technology, all the apps, and all the distractions, the person underneath isn't very different from someone sitting beside a fire 30,000 years ago, and that person seemed to know exactly how to have fun.